Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Feedback Learnex, Habits and How Do We Develop Them? A habit is the result of an action that we repeat frequently automatically. If you look closely in our daily lives, we repeat many habits such as taking off our shoes when we enter the house, turning off the lights before leaving, brushing our teeth, among many others. They are all those actions that we carry out mechanically because we have already repeated them enough times for them to be recorded in our routine, and therefore they do not require us to pay attention or give effort to carry them out. According to researchers at Duke University, habits account for about 40% of our behaviors on any given day. That is to say, almost half of what we do throughout the day, we repeat it automatically because we have always done it that way. On the contrary, when we carry out an activity that is new to us, we need a lot of motivation and effort to carry it out. The advantage of a habit is that it is automated in such a way that without thinking, it is executed. The downside is that some of these habits built into our lifestyle are probably not healthy, and we will be repeating them over and over and over again, even though they harm our well-being. An unhealthy habit brings negative consequences to your physical, mental, emotional, and/or social health. The important thing is to learn how these unhealthy habits were formed in our life and, above all, how to form better habits in their place. How are habits formed? Habits are characterized by being deeply ingrained and because they can be executed automatically. It costs a lot to change habits. The key to acquiring habits is that the person gets used to carrying out the expected activities. In this way, the action is incorporated into the daily routine and is executed without having to involve the conscience. Aristotle said 25 centuries ago that we are beings of habit, but the habit can be modified. In order to transform or extinguish it, the person is required not only to be aware of the need to modify it, but also to repeatedly execute the alternate behavior to modify or eliminate it. To change a habit, you need the intention of wanting to do it. It can be out of desire or obligation, such as starting a new diet for health reasons. Logically, if it is by desire, it will be easier a prior, although it is not without difficulties. Old habits are not forgotten. So, if you want to change something, you have to think about what new routines you have to start doing. In other words, a learned habit is never completely erased, and especially if it has given us pleasure or has given content to time. There is a popular belief that it takes about 21 days to form a new habit. This error is because the plastic surgeon Maxwell Maltz in the 1950s began to notice a strange pattern among his patients. According to their observations, it took about 21 days for them to get used to seeing their new face. Maltz influenced almost all of the major self-help authors, and as more people recited the 21-day law, people began to forget that he said a minimum of and shortened it to, it takes 21 days. In 2009, Philippa Laley, a health psychology researcher at the University College London, published a study in the European Journal of Social Psychology, calculating an average of more than 2 months before a new behavior becomes automatic. If an action is persistent in our routine, it is very likely that it will end up being recorded on the hard drive of our brain in the form of a habit. To change a habit, you need intention, by desire or obligation, plus knowing how to do it, plus frequency. When it comes to changing behavior or introducing something new, we must take into account the following aspects. The value of small steps. It is important that we sow carefully, paying attention to how we are doing it and recognizing the feeling that arouses us. The need to practice, and practice. One of the most important tools to introduce new habits in our lives is consistency. the importance of experimentation with new techniques. It is probably the first time that we face alone something that we do not know, and therefore we must give value to each step we take because everything is new and we are learning along the way. That's it for this week's edition of Feedback Learnex. We hope you learned a little bit about habits and how we develop them and how to carry them out. Stay tuned next week, 9:15 p.m. on Thursday night.